Do you know genius when you see it? When it invades not only your privacy, but your entire life? Here we have genius, Kobe Bryant, the single embodiment of it. From mind to soul, from Maven to Mamba, Adidas to Nike. A masterpiece in 3 acts. Act 1, stripes earned. Straight out of high school, he was chosen to save Adidas. The Godfather, Sonny Vaccaro, made the kid an offer he couldn't refuse. Out of the gate came the KB8s. The game changer changed the game. Afro, arrogance, ascension.
Oh, Kobe Bryant!
But the Kobe 2 was the sneaker culture's Coke 2. The alliance ended, divorce imminent.
Are you a different animal and the same beast?
What the f does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
You're welcome.
Act 2. Allow me to reintroduce myself. There's a difference between having a signature shoe and a shoe line. The difference in the two became self-evident when Kobe signed with Nike. Like MJ with Tinker, Kobe and Eric Avar reinvented the game.
Oh, he's a psychopath at designing as I am about basketball. Like, we speak the same language.
The Huarache 2K4 revitalized. The Kobe 4 revolutionized. The Kobe 9, 10, and 11s finalized.
At this stage of their career, you know, they pop up Achilles and the pundits say they never come back the same. It's fueling me, it's fueling me.
Not even injuries could stop the innovations. His comeback, a generational inspiration. He faded to black out, gave us 60, then Mamba out. Act 3, everlasting. Come to find out, Mamba never left, just shifted lanes. Not only guiding younger players to seek their own lines, but mentoring others to continue to carry his. While Jordan had retro, Kobe invented protro. While Nike had LeBron, KD, and Kyrie, Kobe had everyone from PJ to AD, DeRozan to Randall, Anescu to Lloyd, Chris Mid to Devin Book. More players connected to him through his shoes than anyone.
Bryant for the win! Bang!
The Grinches, the Game of Deaths, the Undefeated Pack, the 5 Rings, the 9 Elites. Nike should have independently branded the Kobe line and signed players as Kobe athletes. But they didn't, and here we are. And while the estate recently ended its 18-year run with the swoosh, there's a belief that the story may have an Act 4. Because with Kobe, there is no end. So until then, to his legacy we pray, to what he left us we honor. His sneakers have possibly the greatest tagline of any sneaker in the history of the game. Quote, from the mind of Kobe Bryant, end quote. That's all any of us needs to know. Further proof that greatness is easy, but genius, that's some whole other.
For Sneaker Legacies, I'm joined by the legendary Sonny Vaccaro, a former marketing executive for Nike, Adidas, and Reebok. It's not an overstatement in saying that Sonny changed the course of sneaker culture forever in 1984 by signing Michael Jordan to an endorsement deal at Nike. Sonny, 12 years later in 1996, after you had made the move to Adidas, you signed a 17-year-old named Kobe Bryant out of Lower Merion High School. How did Kobe pop up on your radar and what made you pursue him to join Adidas?
His father, Joe Bryant, was the MVP in my high school all-star game. His mother's brother Chubby Cox, played in 1973. So by osmosis, I knew Kobe before he was born. When Joe Bryant comes to me after 20-some years back from a trip in Europe, I had never seen Joe nor Pam, obviously, again, since 1970s. They walk into my camp and they find my right-hand man, Gary Charles, who was, my lead guy at the ABCD camp in those years, said, Mr. Charles, I'd like to talk to Mr. Vaccaro about my son getting in ABCD. And I just put him in because he was Joe and Pammy's, son. So Kobe, pre this guy, 17 years old, and grabs me and hugs me and said, thank you, Mr. Vaccaro, for inviting me to camp. He said, Mr. Vaccaro, I want to apologize. I'm quoting him, hugging me. He backs off. I said, Kobe, what are you apologizing? You made the All-Star team. It was a junior All-Star team. He said, no, Mr. Vaccaro, I'm going to be the best player in camp next year. Kobe Bryant told me what his future was that day. And I told Peter Moore, I found my Michael. And he said, what are we giving to give? I said, we're going to give more than anybody ever got. And that was over $1 million. We bet our bankroll like Nike did.
From a branding and marketing standpoint, what were the similarities, but also what were the differences between Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant?
100 million %. 100 million %. He was so cocky in a good way that he wasn't going to fail. Michael was not charismatic. Michael was brilliant. Michael had the buildup to greatness. And then after he won, I mean, no one forgets, he took a year off, whatever reasons he took it off, and played baseball. Kobe Bryant never took a day off of basketball. Kobe Bryant was the most self-determined person I had ever met.
How do you look back at Kobe Bryant's time with Adidas?
I look back as successful because he just started the company. I know they had trouble with the shoe. I don't usually go here, but I'm going to say this. God willing, he had been living today. He was going to leave Nike. Kobe was about his business. It was a better opportunity for worldwide whatever. It's simple as that. That's not negative. Pretty damn brilliant.
Do you have a favorite memory of Kobe Bryant?
One day, Kobe Bryant said, you know what? What, Kobe? What? It was the day after the Academy Awards. One of these days, I want to go to the Academy Awards, and I want to walk down the aisle, and I want everybody to say, that's Kobe Bryant. That's Kobe Bryant. It wasn't in an ego way, because you had to know what he said, how he said it. Well, obviously, he won an Academy Award later on. I've never seen anyone so positive in their life and was able to dream out loud. Kobe dreamt out loud.
So I said in the piece that Sonny Vaccaro, God Daddy, whoever you want to call him, came to Kobe to save the company. Did he actually do that?
He did while he was there. He put him on his back right out of high school, and I think that was the craziest thing was every brand was looking for that next Jordan. You had Jerry Stackhouse, Harold Miner, a lot of guys that fizzled out. And for Sonny to be the guy that signed Michael to Nike and handpicked Kobe, he was off and running.
Where did it go wrong?
Well, everybody could look at the Kobe 2, and then he had to play in the Kobe 2, and so obviously it just wasn't a great shoe. But I think the thing was they were trying to not copy, but MJ was designed by Ferraris. They had Air Jordans like the 14 that were beautiful shoes, and they were kind of going down that same path, and it just wasn't unique enough. They didn't have the tech to it. I think he was just ready for a change.
Yeah, I heard on the low end that they treated him kind of bad in the meeting. Like they had folding chairs and they were trying to get him back. He's like, folding chairs? He's like, I'm out. This ain't gonna make it.
He paid like $8 million to get out the contract and then played a whole season for free. So that's how bad he wanted out.
So Kobe was with Adidas. So in June 1996, when he entered the NBA, I was all of 3 years old. So I don't really remember Kobe with Adidas that much, but as I got older and transitioned to the early 2000s, I remember admiring the Adidas, the Kobe, and that logo. you know, with Froby, you know, that was awesome to me. And with Nike and the Huarache 2K4s, I remember when those dropped, and those were incredible. And that kind of, you know, started Kobe off with Nike.
I did an interview with him once, and he said it felt like when Harry Potter was at Hogwarts, like he was home.
Right.
And like the synergy that him and Eric Avar had in terms of a designer that he felt like could be his tinker, that was something he didn't necessarily have at Adidas. He was jumping to designer, and now he was really able to give his imprint and see it come to life in a shoe.
Let's talk about when we went low. The power of the four, because, you know, everybody talks about this, that, and the other, but that shoe, that silhouette itself kind of changed the game.
Kobe made it cool to wear lows. Obviously, you know, Gilbert Arenas and Steve Nash were wearing lows, you know, maybe a little bit before Kobe, but, you know, he's the one that kind of glamorized it, that made it cool, and, you know, that made it universal in basketball for players to, you know, break out low tops.
There was so much technology behind it. You knew how maniacal he was about the technology and design, and so you just saw it across the league take off. And now, I think over half the signature shoes out there are low tops.
So at this point right now, is Kobe looked at as a performance shoe or a lifestyle shoe? Because you know, since his death, it seems to take on a life of its own. And I don't know, it starts off with performance, but it seems like it's a lifestyle. Where is it now right now?
I mean, I think it's always been both. And the biggest thing too is all the shoes Michael played in were team colors, Bulls colors. And Kobe brought so much storytelling to the game. You know, he was jumping over Aston Martin, he had a McFly theme, obviously the Grinches. And so that to me took it. Yeah, it just, you know, you can go on and on and on. And that just took it off the court. And then I think, I mean, every year it seems like there's more and more guys just wearing it on the court.
You know, Kobe's line has become, you know, I don't think this is an overstatement, it's become the most beloved line. And several months after, you know, he passed away, you know, the NBA players went into the bubble and everybody was rocking Kobe's. There was 280 different pairs of Kobe's worn, no matter the model, worn by 102 different players. It's kind of hard to imagine, you know, a world without Kobe's Nikes, honestly.
Speaking of that, you kind of got inside because you did the story, you broke the story. What do you think will happen now that the relationship with Nike is over moving forward?
Yeah, so he had signed that 5-year contract after he retired, and it expired. And so Vanessa elected not to renew it. I think she's gonna shop around and look to launch her own Mamba brand. That was something he was really seriously considering and pursuing. He had already taken some meetings on that. And I think she's gonna look really close at that and maybe break away from Nike altogether.
So your insight tells you that's what you think will happen. What do you think should happen from an outsider standpoint?
I think Nike, you know, Phil Knight, even Michael Jordan, you know, I think they need to find a way to keep Kobe in the Nike family. You know, I think that, you know, sneakerheads, sneaker culture, like that's what we want and need.
Like I think Vanessa's biggest intent is for his fans to get his products and easily. And that was the challenge. I think some of these launches were too limited. But if you're allowing everybody to touch all the different brands that he did wear throughout his career, then you could have people celebrating 20 years at once. I think that would be awesome.
What is Kobe Bryant's sneaker legacy?
That tagline, from the mind of Kobe Bryant, is something that's gonna resonate forever. You know, and that's the greatest tagline in the history of sneakers. So anything that has from the mind of Kobe Bryant, especially through his Nike line, his legacy is gonna be that.